Louis Quilico was one of the leading operatic baritones of the 20th century. His sudden passing on July 15th, 2000 was a great loss to the musical world. Quilico performed at many of the world's great opera houses: Covent Garden, the Paris Opera, the Bolshoi, and the Vienna Staatsoper, to name only a few. He was a stalwart of the Metropolitan Opera, appearing nearly 300 times over 25 consecutive years. At the Met, he sang under the baton of James Levine, Zubin Mehta, Richard Bonynge and Claudio Abbado, and alongside tenors including Luciano Pavarotti, Placido Domingo, John Vickers and José Carreras, and sopranos Joan Sutherland, Renata Tebaldi, Renata Scotto, and Beverly Sills. Louis Quilico was an ideal interpreter of the great Italian and French composers, but it was his defining portrayal of Rigoletto, the hunchbacked jester in Verdi's tragic masterpiece, that won him international acclaim, as well as the nickname Mr. Rigoletto. He sang the role more than 500 times, the last being at the National Arts Centre in Ottawa in September of 1994. After his retirement from the operatic stage in 1998, he continued to perform, touring extensively with his wife, the celebrated pianist Christina Petrowska Quilico. Together they made 4 recordings and a teaching video, and collaborated on the book Mr. Rigoletto in Conversation with Louis Quilico. In this book, Quilico shared his views on singing, on opera, and on his signature role, Rigoletto. He also talked about his own personally devised vocal techniques, sharing them with a new generation of singers. What is missing in the printed version of these conversations is Quilico's own voice and his unique personality. In these recordings, we hear him speak in his own words, with his own voice, unfiltered and unedited. Speaking personally, baritone Louis Quilico, Mr. Rigoletto, in conversation with Christina Petrowska Quilico. In this conversation, Louis discusses playing the title role in Alban Berg's Wozzeck, which he calls a treacherous piece to perform.
In the actual performance, I have in my pocket an army knife that all of a sudden, I don't exactly remember what was the conversation with his girlfriend. It's called, the name of the woman is Maria. And in fact, he has a son with her. And all of a sudden, during the conversation, just to show you the mind of the man that is completely inadapted for the time that he is born, all of a sudden takes that army knife and cuts her throat. And I remember very well with the knife, opening it with my teeth, then taking it, cutting her throat, and I remember that the knife touched her throat and she falls down, and then I leave and I go in a tavern, and everybody is asking me, where's Marie, where's Marie? And I became completely crazy. And he goes back, and all of a sudden, his only interest is to find the knife. What is the knife? Where is the knife? And in the night, there's blood. In the night, there's blood. And all of a sudden, instead of finding the knife, it comes and falls right on top of his girlfriend, Marie. and all of a sudden he sees something that getting completely crazy, that he cut her throat. And all of a sudden, while I was doing the show, all of a sudden I come back and start to look for the knife, and I felt on her. And for at least, I would say, about 30 to 40 seconds, if it's not even a minute, I don't remember, it seems an eternity. All of a sudden, I swear to God, I thought I had done it. I've completely paralyzed. And I have to say one thing, the producer was so intelligent, that was Pierre Mercure, a modern composer too, had the intelligence to really stop and take the expression of my face. And all of a sudden the music stopped, and I realized that I had not killed her. And we kept on going on. And the funniest thing about it, they had made like a pool about 30 inches deep of water. And they told me, they said, Louis, at the end of the end, when you're going to start to go, what happened with Wozzeck, all of a sudden he goes in the water and drowns himself. And they said, you go down in the water, you see that little branch there, I want you to break it, start to go under the water, all of a sudden we pan on your hand and the branch, then all of a sudden we see your end opening, and the only thing we see is the branch floating on the water. And he says, count to 30. That's what I did. But what happened? After I have done that, going down the water, breaking the branch, going down the water, then disappearing, counting to 30, I came out and I grabbed the side of the pool, and I started to shake like a leaf, and started to cry like a child. And I would say, please, take me out of here. Take me out of here. And I have to say one thing. If I would have done Wozzeck for 6 months, I would not be here to talk to you. Because I think I would have went crazy like he did. Because it was such a powerful experience for me to be acquainted with someone of that caliber. Naturally, the music was difficult, like I said, but all of a sudden it made sense. Because let's face it, Alban he didn't write that kind of opera just for the thought of writing an opera. It was beautifully done. It was incredible. I had a fabulous conductor, Otto Werner Müller, and it was my experience of it. I feel I had a great privilege to be able to do this kind of opera, but I swear to God never to do it again, because I was scared of it. And I think any other modern opera could have created the same problem for me.
Can you talk about Due Foscare, about the character? It's an opera that's not well known, but you seem to like to sing it. Can you explain why?
Due Foscari, I have to say that I have not done many of them. I've done 3 performances. But the thing is, it's first of all, it's great Verdi, no matter what anybody will say. But at the same time, the character of Foscari is a very interesting one. In those years, the Doge of Venice was a kind of honorary title. And the funniest thing about it, until I did the opera, I never realized that the Doge of Venice had no power. The chamber, the government was a powerful thing behind it, but the Doge had no powerful. It was just what do you call public figures. Like, just to give you an idea, for instance, there was never, and if you go to Venice, you will never find a monument or, I don't know, a bust or anything like that of any Doge of Venice, because even that was against the Constitution. But the only one that left his mark is Foscari. In the main entrance, the two big doors of the main entrance, there is a sculpture of a man, and the sculpture of the man is Foscari. In fact, I had something wonderful happen to me, because when I did it in Hamilton, they had invited one of the grandchildren of Foscari, and it was funny to be in presence of an actual member of the family Foscari, because the other opera, they're always everything is fictive, you know. The names are never to resemble somebody that is alive, but this one was the opposite. It was a kind of a true story, if you want to put it. And the drama of the whole thing is that there is a man that would have liked to be able to use his power, but the chamber is always pushing him back at the wall, and there's nothing he can say. For instance, he has to send his son in exile, and in his mind, he didn't want to send him. But the chamber said, no, there's nothing you can do about it, and you have to send him. Sign it. And he's the one, more or less, who sent his son to death. Not death, but it's exactly the same thing. And this is the reason why I found it very fascinating, because it's completely against my nature. And as a person, he's a very good person, but realizing that certain things are not right, but cannot do anything about it, makes him very frustrated. And in fact, at the end of the opera, he loses his mind, and that's how he dies, losing his mind. But the thing is, what is so incredible about Foscari is that the music at the end is so incredible. The chorus, the orchestra, the Doge, and everybody, the music is so full of grandiose, that's incredible to hear this kind of opera. And you say to yourself, why wasn't it so little performed? Because it is as good as, I don't know, maybe a Traviata or things like that. But you have to look at the point of view, and it has to be played and sung much more often, that the people can get used to it. It's not the opera that has great arias. There is some arias in it, but it's not the greatest arias. But at the same time, in the whole, Due Foscari is a fabulous opera. And it has to be seen at least once to really appreciate it. When you see it, you understand why this kind of opera should have been performed much more often than it was done.
Do you prefer Due Foscari to Stiffelio and I Lombardi? Which do you feel has the better music, and why is I Lombardi and Stiffelio recorded and done more?
Well, I would say the other ones, you know, they're what is happening with Due Foscari. It's not the tenor's aria, it's not the tenor opera, and it is a little bit the soprano, but mainly it's the baritone and the bass, the baritone and the bass. And this is the problem. It seems that the recording company has for policy that to sell an opera, you need the tenor and you need the soprano more than you need the bass and the baritone. And I think that is the reason why Due Foscari was always eliminated, maybe, and like they done now, Stifilio, that maybe I did not hear it well enough to really make a judgment on it. But I think Due Foscari takes it over 100%.
Getting back to vocal technique, you had an example yesterday about pronouncing trouble like dumbbell and stressing the importance of consonants. You also mentioned about the first syllable being important in shaping phrases. Can you explain why this is important?
The voice is very capricious. If you're not the master of the voice becomes the master. And the big problem is when the voice is the master, there's nothing you can do about it. And this is the thing that you have to give to the voice the possibility to discover certain things that will help it. Like, for instance, we were talking about the first letter. The first thing that when a singer sings, the very first sound, not the sound, the very beginning of the sound, like very often it's a consonant. Sometimes you have a vowel, but in general it's a consonant. With the consonant, let's say you got a T, well, you don't say tra, but you'd say t, b, t, tr, b. The thing is, it's to make very well pronounce tr, 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 trouble, and not trouble. That more or less, you go from the T to tra, and not tra, going at the end of the first sentence. Bull. Now, why bull? I had to retake this and as the baritone to give me. The point is, we have to put in our mind that if a vowel doesn't work, or a consonant doesn't work, the thing is, it's for us to try to change the real pronunciation of that vowel or consonant. Like, for instance, I know that, for instance, if you say trouble, this is completely anti-vocal, because the thing is, what makes the vocal effect so strong is the way to be able to pronounce a T, R, O, and not to be a slave to say it's trouble. That there's no pronunciation in this. You have to really accentuate trouble, trouble. And you see the bull, there's a B-L-D, bulled. And that gives you a tremendous explosion. This is the thing that is the secret of singing. It's to be able to help the voice to find a kind of, I call it an explosion. It's because it creates that tremendous vocal effect. Because the voice is a funny thing. If I go, it doesn't have any point to start, for instance. But if you go, very often if a vowel, I will start a vowel with a little h. Because the thing is, it's always dangerous to put It's too dry. It gives you much more to it.
What about shaping phrases?
Well, shaping phrases is it's a very it's a little bit like the words. If you're not careful, the thing is, I always say to my pupil, when you start a word in a phrase, the very first thing that will come out of your mouth is the thing that's going to make completely the rest of the phrase. For instance, you have, let's say that you have a beautiful way to start re, let's say it's very good. And you keep on feeding the rest of that phrase in the re, that you have to have the intelligence to feel that even if you're going to have a, it's if the beginning is a, it's to bring it exactly where the a exists. And this is the big problem. Singers, they articulate. They think that you have to sing like you speak. No, there's no such a thing. The speech on the singing is a vocal speech and not, how can I say, it's a singing speech, but it is not a plain speech like if you would speak the language. Because very often, speaking a language is very weak. To sing it, it makes it much more truthful. That's the way it is.
You mentioned about putting the head back. You're always criticizing the students because it cuts the vocal cords. Are there some ways in which the head can go back if the body moves with it?
The point is, I'm talking about this. It's difficult to talk about it if you don't see it. But the thing is, your larynx, where the vocal cords are attached to, these vocal cord, like the larynx, it has to be in a socket. It's got to be in his own socket. That means the position of the head will create either that your vocal approach is right or your vocal approach is wrong. What I mean by this, you just have to think about the vocal cord are, let's put it this way, very simple. Let's say they're an inch long. Now, with tension. Now, from that, you have to go with maybe another extra, not even 16 of an inch. Let's put it at 16 of an inch. To create to make in the voice 2.5 octave. And what is happening? If you're not careful, when the head moves, you're more or less changing the position of your throat or the larynx and the cord. And the first thing you know, your vocal approach is completely wrong because you are not what I call purely in the socket.
Tell me how to get a real focus and intensity of the voice without spreading the sound, and how does one get the special resonance and ping that you hear in the great singers like Domingo and Pavarotti?
This is a very simple thing, and at the same time a very difficult thing. Because, there's one thing that always been said by teacher, I would say 95% of the teacher, was say never to mention the vocal cord. And I am sorry, this is the thing that is the most important thing there is. Our instrument is like the violin. It's composed of 2 chords and a bow. But the bow is not a bow like the violin. It's the air. Now just try to understand watching is Isaac Perlman playing the violin. He holds the violin in a certain way that you practically feel that there is 2 strings that holds the violin up in the air. It practically, there's no effort, nothing. His right hand, it goes on the string, and that's it. But watch the way he used the bow you will never use maybe once in a while to have maybe a bigger, thicker sound. It will use the full amount of the air of the bow. But in general, he always use maybe, I don't know, maybe a quarter. Even if it's a quarter, it might be even less than that. But the pressure of the air, the pressure of the bow on the cord, on the string, makes a big difference. That's where it lays. Us, we have two chords. We have the air. Now, I always ask to my pupil, what is the most important thing in the voice? Is it the air or is it the chord? And the question always comes up the same way. It's the air, and this is false. The one that is the most important thing is the chord, because the chord are the one who dictate how much pressure of air that you're going to give. And this is the point where it creates a tremendous problem, because people do not understand. This is where the great singers excel, to be able to have exactly the right amount of tension on the chord and the right amount of pressure of air. And what is happening? Our nervous system is a very, ticklish. It's very ticklish. Simple. What I mean by this, try to touch your eyes. You cannot. But if you go slowly, you're going to come at a point where you can touch it. The voice is exactly the same thing. The moment you overtax the intake, a tremendous tension created, and the first thing you know, it's not only create the tension on the air, but at the same time on the chord, for a simple reason. Because creating that tension, you have to try to liberate your chord and give them a certain flexibility that is required when you sing. And this is the thing that is very difficult, to be able in your mind to feel the tension of the chord and at the same time to feel the pressure of the air. And this is where the great singers have exceeded so beautifully because of that reason. They found exactly what it has to be done. And this is the problem with young singers. It's very difficult because it's not tangible, and it's a thing that you have to understand. You see, the point is, what teacher does, they're going to make you vocalize, hoping only one thing, that automatically that you're going to find the way of liberating your chord and liberating your hair. And this is the point that I always find very fascinating with singers, because they don't have the foggiest idea what I'm be talking about when I start to talk to them about the vocal cord and the air. For instance, how to take the air. And I just give a little the most simple example there is. If you are in your right mind and you listen to yourself, and all of a sudden you will be talking to somebody and you're going to say, yes, do me a favor, repeat that very, very, very slowly. Analyze what is happening with the air when you say, yes. You don't do, yes. No. It's like you're throwing out the air. It's exactly singing, no matter what anybody will say. And I challenge anybody in this world to tell me the contrary. Singing is like talking. But the talk or the singing is the complementation of the talking voice. And that is the point. Very often I will take some people that speak very badly, and I'm going to say, learn how to speak, and you're going to know how to sing. because it's a coordination. It's about the same. Because when you speak, you don't think of the air going in. No, the air is always there to serve himself. If you listen to what I'm saying right now, you will notice one thing there. The air is very simple. And that is the big problem. We don't make enough correspondence between air in speech and air in singing. It's exactly the same thing. And naturally, it's very difficult what I'm going to say to try to understand, but at the same time, the thing that is very important in singing is what I'm going to say. It sounds funny, but it is not funny. It's a rotation. You know, the greatest thing that's been invented in this world was the wheel. Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. The wheel is the best example there is for a singer. But not the wheel that comes towards you, the wheel that goes away from you. Just imagine you have a car. Just look at the wheel, the front wheel, when it starts to run, when it starts to roll. All of a sudden, when it rolls forward, I'm not talking going backward, I'm talking going forward. This is our breathing, it's exactly what it is. When the wheel all of a sudden goes under the car and up, 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 all of a sudden it comes forward. The moment this wheel, that the tire going forward will touch the asphalt, that's where the air, you take the air and you sing. But it's difficult to try to vision this, because you have to have a vision of a wheel, and you have to do it with your hand.
What's that got to do with a ping or resonance in the sound?
Well, the ping is a very, very simple thing. The ping in the sound is done by the vocal cord and nothing else. The vocal cord, if I loosen the vocal cord, the first thing you know, you feel a shallow sound, and all of a sudden there is no more ping. Plus, on top of that, we always talk, and this is the point that I always talk in my own way, that I go against simply to the teacher that will say to the pupil, please sing in the resonance. What is the resonance? The resonance is a cage, is a space. But they won't say that to the pupil. They're going to say, sing in the resonance. What do you think the pupil does? Goes and sing in the nose. And the first thing you know, you are doing exactly the thing that is against the singing. Because the thing is, what is happening at that moment, you're not only trying to put it in the nose, but at the same time, you are giving pressure to the cord, and the cord loosen. What makes the resonance? It's our cord. You loosen the cord, you lose your resonance. You tighten the cord, you're gaining the resonance. Because I'll tell you one thing, I do it, and it's a very simple thing. But the thing is, you have to come at a point, and I still say it, and I'm not afraid of this, you have to know where are your chords. Because if you don't know where your chords are, and you don't know how to work them, and working the breath, you're in big, big, big trouble. Because it's not a thing that comes only with vocalized, believe me. Some people have succeeded doing it without thinking about to find out about the chord or the real technique. But the only problem is if you know exactly what is the functioning of these two things, the chords and the air, well, you're going to be safe many, many, many times in your life, in your singing life. Because the thing is, very often, even myself that knows exactly what to do with my voice, all of a sudden you get lost. And it's to be able to bring yourself back into it. And that is the thing. To be like a computer from your toe to your hair.